Yeah. Okay. Hey all, very good morning and welcome to Goa Mills of Meetup. So today's topic is going to be architecture importance and dive into implementation. So this is the topic we are going to complete today. And before moving to agenda of today's meetup, we'll introduce our organizers for the Goa meetup. So we have Gaurav Dubey. He's one of our meetup leader for the Goa meetup. So maybe he's not here today due to some time zone difference. So I will introduce about himself. Gaurav is a senior architect at Capgemini, Australia, and he's also a mentor as well as a Goa meetup leader. And second one is a Vinay. Vinay also have six plus years of experience in MuleSoft, and he's working as a senior developer at a particular MNC. And myself is Vandana Gowda. I have total 3 years of experience in MuleSoft, and I'm also MuleSoft mentor as well as a Goa meetup leader. So if you have interested to speak in Goa meetup, so just message me either on LinkedIn or Slack or anywhere. So we can host you guys also. So if you are interested, yeah. This is a short description about like a short intro about ourselves. So next we have our speaker. We have Anand. So Anand, you can introduce yourself to audience.
Sure. Let me know if I'm audible and
Yes,
visible.
please. You are audible. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, all. I'm Anand Kankaria. I'm working with a Capgemini as an architect here. I have. It's been maybe 3 years. I'm working with the MuleSoft, and I have total 10 years in integration experience and around 18 years into the IT overall. So it's been a fantastic journey here, and thanks, Vandana, for the opportunity.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah, thank you so much, Anand. So yeah, if you guys have any doubt or anything, please put it in a chat. So we'll take all the questions in maybe in middle or in the end of the session, so we can take those questions. Okay. Yeah, over to you, Anand. So yeah, you can share your screen and share the agenda. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. 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 Let me share the screen. Okay. Let me know if
Yeah, it's
it's
visible.
visible to you all.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So the today's topic is definitely it's about the API-led architecture, and the topic will be covering the following agenda: the basic of best practices to be followed in MuleSoft integration. So the so API led architecture is one of them. There are 10 best practices. Assume API led architecture is one of them. To compare as an analogy, we can see it's like a microservice whenever you are in any other industry, and we have small services written, and then using those services, we kind of combine all and make an application. So that's analogy. So we'll go with the basic of API. Then we'll talk about the in the era. So it's an integration era, I would say, and how application network can be achieved with the MuleSoft. And we'll try to compare the approaches. Maybe two approaches we will look after. So one is point to point, which is very famous, and we kind of use it when during urgency. And the second one is definitely API-led architecture. And I try to capture some of the importance, like say when to when to follow API-led architecture, when not to go with the API-led architecture, and we'll talk about some walkthrough of these two approaches. And definitely, accelerator is one of the add-on thing I thought of adding here. So yeah, so API-led architecture. So uh, uh, as an analogy, we talk about microservices. So microservices is very popular in any industry now, in Java industry or wherever we see people are talking about want to have a microservice based architecture. So it means we kind of writing the tiny services, meaningful reusable services, and using them. So if we go with the MuleSoft, we have similar analogy with the API-led architecture. So we kind of writing small APIs and then build your application on top of it. So that's analogy. So when we say what's an API, so it's a first question we should ask ourselves. So it's interface to your application. So whenever we are assume an example, we are writing and creating new application. Uh, what all things we would be needing, right? So it will be like composition of all small APIs, right? So it could be login API, it could be payment related gateway API, it could be banking API, it could be database API. So and there will be chatbot now. So such kind of applications will be built. New application, I mean, will be built composing all these small APIs. So hope that gives a background about it. And so this is one of page I picked from the white paper that MuleSoft keep publishing. So why API based application is getting popular, and why companies are investing into it. So any scenario, any application, if you realize it doesn't now compose with single application, it requires a lot more other applications to interact with. So it's like any application now is bridge between you and your customer, right? So then this bridge would be filled with n number of applications. So it could be CRM applications, Salesforce like applications, some kind of smart devices. So such thing would be present into it. And that's why uh, whenever any new company come up with some product, they kind of say, I have these APIs and I want to expose these APIs so that can be consumed with other application. Sorry. uh, so uh, so we see now there are 10,000s of applications possibly needing, right, when we building a new application. So maybe when we say 10,000 of applications, so it will be like assume a scenario, we have a call center person is kind of interacting with your system. So or it could be smart device interacting with the system, or it could be an web application or a mobile application interacting with your system. So now it will be follow some process, right? Possibly take it as like a SAP, then it's connecting to Oracle, some service now. So n number of applications, Salesforce, popular one. So it would be at your application flow will be run through this number of applications. So when we say it's data and processors are highly fragmented, it means data is not holding at one place now. It would be happening present at different places. It would be just take from one format to another, and it would be taken further into the flow. And the process is also fragmented. So that's some background about it. And this is one of the slide I picked from Trailhead, which when we say it's an integration era, then uh,
Hi Anand, sorry
yeah.
for the disturbance. Can you please like hide that one down? We are getting right. Stop sharing and hide.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for pointing out. So when we say about the 17th century, right, the steam engine was then revolution, because that's where then industrialization started. Then 18th century, we said electricity was the revolution, and the third one was any computing power was an the revolution. And now we are in the era where connectivity is an more revolution kind of thing, because because people now or company want to connect people, application data or devices together to make something working out of it. So that's why I'm saying it's an integration era. And whenever there is thing thousands of application they want to plug in. So let's say at the beginning we have n number of application, then we want to add on few more application to add on more use cases. So plug and play the application as quickly as possible is what we want, right? But when we do such thing, quickly doing it, integrating it quickly, what happens, like we end up into creating a point to point applications. So when we say point to point application, then it will be quickly delivered. Companies happy that they got something working, something ready to showcase. But what happened next when they want to add more things, and due to this tightly coupled point to point architecture we build, then what happens, like when we create new uh, integration, then we end up rewriting the whole code. So so that's a challenge we many of as an people are in development face, right? So okay, you got something POC working, now I want to add a few more cases, then I want to have a few more cases, then it's become really challenging, and we end up spending same time whenever we are creating enhancing the things. So that's why we are saying in the integration era we should be little cautious about building that application from beginning. uh, so MuleSoft says, so it's a MuleSoft terminology like application network. So it's a network of, as a definition, it's a network of application data and devices. So, and this can be built when we have reusable APIs, and each are built with the principle of API-led connectivity. So assume Salesforce we have, and we want to connect with other system like Workday or Twitter or some smart devices like smartwatch or some SAP system, phone or Facebook. Whenever we want to do integration, so it can be done with an with an MuleSoft reusable API. So if we build with the principle of API-led architecture, then any new system addition, it won't be have to make multiple point to the Salesforce. As an example, it would be just add one more your API, MuleSoft API, and that will connect to the whole system. So it's like a plug and play, right? So any new asset you bring into this your network, you don't have to connect all system, you just plug to the soft, and the rest of the things would be available to you. Okay, so API-led architecture. So finally, it's a definition. I would read out. It's a methodological way to connect to your application data devices through reusable and purposeful API. And definitely, it's very opposite to point-to-point integration. And let's see how it's different. So usually these are represented in a three-layered architecture we talked. So what three layers are? System APIs, process API, and experience API. I know you guys have heard about it many times, and I would just repeating it a little bit. So yeah, so at a system level, let's say when we start, so let's say we talked about some application like some Salesforce database, some CRM systems, some SAP applications, some kind of file system, some kind of social apps, some smart devices. So all this data extraction would be happening at a system layer. So it would extract the data from the system and make it available to further business logic. So at the second level, we have a process API, which is kind of a top layer from the system layer, and it would do little business operation at this level. It would be extracting data from one system, then it would run through some order to get the data passed from the each system, and it would do also data transformation at that level. So business logic is very critical in this API-led architecture. And finally, we have an experience API, whereas an I would say it's like a end layer where you kind of make your data available to some devices, as per its format. So it could be your mobile app, or it could be web app, or it could be your smart devices. So based on the UI would be data be passed from this layer. So there are three layers we have, and there is some more definition about. So it's like promoting decentralized access to data and capability without promising the government. So okay, so without compromising the government. So we do not compromise on anything, but still we promoting decentralized access to the data. So I'll run through it. So another famous diagram, we kind of, when we say API connectivity, I mean, this is the image we see, right? So so it's a system layer process finally. And so there are some meaningful application are being represented here. For example, for a customer CRM, if you're trying to connect, then we have an Salesforce here. When we are talking about delivering, so it's a Diwali time, right? So we kind of order things and how those get delivered. So kind of system we have here. We have inventory management. We have loyalty. So as a loyal customer, what things to be done. So such kind of things would be present in end system, and those are extracted through the system layer. And those data would be extracted in certain order from the process layer. For example, we are at an order API, so it would be going through customer delivery, inventory kind of checking would be happening at the process layer. There are few more business case we might have in any CRM, so any kind of retail segment. If we consider in a retail industry, we have the product information, then we have order APIs, and then we have shipment, and then customer profile, and finally the experience layer where we have a mobile app or web app. So finally that layer it is talking about. Mhm. Okay, so as we're going to look at these two approaches, I have just kind of captured some bulletins about it. Uh, so it's like one is point-to-point integration, and we know it's a tightly coupled integration, and other one is a API-led connectivity. So when to choose what, I have just listed here. It's like designed for short-term need, then and customer do not want to spend too much on the uh, development at the moment, then it's recommended to go with the tightly coupled integrations, because it will be quickly delivered. But when we say that, we have to see what all next up development could be coming up. So if they want to have repeated development has to happen, then we have to explain like it this method, this approach come up with a repetitive effort. So whenever we do first development, then it will be done faster, but and when the second time development comes, it will be same operations, same development we have to do, because it's hardly have any reusability. Then it's scaled by repetitive effort, so the efforts won't be reduced, and it's a spaghetti code because it's quickly connected, so little ad hoc in the nature, little chaos, I would say, would happen in the code. And the API-led connectivity, it's designed for future flexibility, because we are thinking about in the future how flexible it will be to add on new system into it, and scale by reuse. So we are, as we talking about microservice based architecture, where we are saying the small things we have to build so that can be reused. And it's a finally we are saying we are achieving a application network at the end. So these are two approaches. Vandana, let me know if there is questions for us, because I want running on the full screen, so I do not have duplicate screen to see anything question. But let me know if there are questions at this moment, or we good to go at this. And I have no questions, I would say. Okay, if there's question, keep sharing in the chat. So I see no questions at this moment. So fine. So let's continue. So at what point we say better to skip a failure architecture? So I know we talked short-term project, budget constraint, rapid prototyping. So these are some of the parameter we have to see when we are building an application. So better to say skip API-led architecture, because client wants quick delivery, rapid prototyping, low complexity of applications. And that's the last one is also important when we say that we are integrating with the legacy system. So if there are legacy system which takes a little more time to respond and having more layered operations, layered approach we suggest, that could end up little more latency to the application. So whenever there is lot many legacy application to integrate, then better to skip API-led architecture because of the performance factor. And definitely follow the API-led architecture when we are looking at long-term value. It would be like complex integrations, complex application, complex data processing, reusability in a mind, and then maintainability. For example, you have a large team to work on, then for each API you say my system layer, Salesforce system layer will be taken care by this team. Then I have Snowflake warehouse or any other warehouse I want to operate on, then that team will be look after it. So, or process layer, it will be handled by such team. So so when there is a big project and we have a large team, then this is one of the approaches prepared, so that team can work in a better way with this. So yeah, so let's jump into the demo. So I plan to go with an uh, three options, three approaches. One is we'll go with the point-to-point example. Then we'll after the API-led architecture, I would run through accelerator example first, and then maybe I would run with another development that is based on the API-led architecture. So I'll quit from the full screen and come back here. Okay, so keep, let me know if you have any questions at this moment. But yeah, if there are no questions, so we can keep going. So I have one small example prepared for today's day presentation. So assume an scenario, we have a Salesforce system, and which is kind of your active CRM, from where you have the live data present. It could be user data, it could be some kind of issues or any kind of incident have been raised by clients. So such data is present in your Salesforce systems. And we have data warehouse where we kind of do little more analytics on it, where you want to store the large amount of data, not in required in the active system, but you want to keep, for example, every day you kind of run your flow, and you want to take that data from your Salesforce to the Snowflake, so that further analytics could be run. For example, you want to promote some kind of sales or some promotional thing you want to run to user. So you want that data that to be present on your Snowflake, and then you kind of do analytics on it. So such use case, if you have if you have in your mind, then this is one of the example I would like to present. So we have, for example, I have the first one is I want to extract the user data from Snowflake, that I would be doing little data data transition from one format to another, because Salesforce written in some other format, and then I want the data to be in the Snowflake in different format. Then I will do little transfer to the JSON, and then submit finally to the Snowflake. So for user, let's say if I want to run it, so I have deployed the application just before the call. So let's say if it works. So for user, I would say I want to extract the data and run it. I would be running my request. It would be connecting to Salesforce system. It would, let's say I ran it yesterday. Now today I'm running it. So it will capture that data, and then it will do the transformation and send data to the Snowflake. So I have integrated this this application in a way that it will run in Salesforce query. It would be extract. So for example, I just wanted two field to extract for a user and do and get the active user from it. I have done the Salesforce configuration here, which is kind of all the details has been mentioned here. All are encrypted. And then I do the insertion to the Snowflake. I have specific database that where I want the insertion to happen into respective tables, and I'm just saying I want to transfer only respective fields. So now this is user. Now let's think we get another requirement saying I want to get the incident data. What I would do, because I have did in little crude way, right? Because I have hard coded couple of things. I have specifically mentioned that I just want to insert into the user database. So many things I have hard coded. So what I would do now, there is a case scenario, incident scenario comes in, I would create another flow altogether. So I would be creating another component here, which is for case. It would be reading for the case data. It would be reading the case data and then finally insert into the Snowflake respective table. So it would be case data would be inserted, and I would say compile and run. So I would say I'm fetching the case data and I will say hit it will doing the case data. Correct. So it would extract the case data and then it will be completed. So you got it right. So assume if we are doing such a thing, let's say there are 100 of the flows. Okay, now when we are talking about scaling the application, then we kind of end up creating 10 flows, right? And then the scalability, repeatability. So we are kind of creating every time we are creating the Salesforce again in your one API. Then we are creating the Snowflake incident. So when the scalability happen and parallel operation happen, then there is impact on the code duplication, then performance, lot many things, maintainability of the code, all will be impacted due to this. So I hope you're visualizing that, right? So when we are in 10 or 100 of the flows, because there are 100 of objects present in the Salesforce, right? And you want to extract that data because client would come in next time and ask more data. So what we have to do, we have to create another flow. So that's the challenge I wanted to highlight with the point-to-point architecture we might have. Let's look at one more example. I would take you to retail industry example. Hope this is visible. So I'm trying to come up to the little large picture how actually the application are built. Uh, so if many of you know the accelerator, right? So this is MuleSoft provided template to be reused. So it whenever our organization is a partner or we bought a bought a license from the MuleSoft, then we are allowed to use such accelerators. We can download these ready to use assets. Uh, so I'm picking one example. So as per industry, there are for healthcare would be different. It could be insurance, it would be different. So I'm picking the retail one for just for our understanding today. So accelerators are some definition I would read out. So it's a pre-built APIs, connector, integration templates, and reference architecture are being given to data transformation initiative. So it has, for example, so it has to be customized as per our projects. Okay, but as an example, they have given, let's say there are 10 plus systems we have to integrate. So Snowflake is one of them. Salesforce, it has using different clouds, Connect system, Salesforce system, service, marketing. So different clouds we have. We have different database, SAP system we have to connect, or some database we have to connect, some clouds we have to connect. So such a thing we have to integrate in a retail industry, and outcome would be I want to have a customer profile build, have sales order to sync on, then product sync, some really time inventory when the real purchase happen, I want to modify my inventory with the modification. It could be like different channels we do purchase, right? Some guys are doing with the mobile, then the inventory changes, then some guys doing with the websites, then the web apps, then that changes happen. So such thing outcome I want, right? And that's why we have 6 use cases s- MuleSoft has considered. For example, customer profile syncs, wherever so it's like B2C, B2B kind of profiling we have, right? So you might doing a lot of shopping, so you know, like B2C, B2B platform these days, it's quite popular now. So it's a sales order, then we have product sync, then real-time inventory. So there are 6 use cases we have, and if you look at this diagram, see the scalability of application would happen. I'll just open in new tab to get more it visible. So okay, so now, so we know now the experience process and system APIs, and see the complexity of 3 Salesforce system we are trying to connect, and SAP system we are trying to connect, and these are the business operations we have to do at the process layer, where we are saying, okay, I want to have a order API, I want to have a product, I want to have a real-time inventory, and then it would end up connecting to each system API. So if you see reusability of each system API, see, for example, order processing, we are connecting to the database. And if you see, come back to the database level, you see that system API is getting used by customer API, order API, then some product process API, and then some real-time inventory. So reusability often of an API really happen with this architecture. So this is one of the point I wanted to mention to you. So when the scale up of application happen, so reusability of the component is more important. So for example, SAP system, see how these are connecting multiple times. B2C, B2B kind of system APIs are repeatedly getting used. So this is big picture. A specific one now. So let's say we want to jump to the point of sales integration. So this is use case. If we go, okay, so it presents us a little high level picture. So hope your guys with me. If you have any question, just put in chat. Maybe Vandana can help us reading those. So I'll just read this.
One he asking like is every integration architecture needs to have all three APIs. I mean system process experience.
That's what I'm saying. So, so you mean any integration, right? So not all integration requires, but the requirement is what we have to study. So if its client is just have 3 system to integrate, and I do not have too much of reusability in your mind, then we do not need to have a so many APIs, right? So how many system we want to connect? So that is first question we have to ask. How many APIs would be based on that? So if we have 3 system possibly, then for example, then loyalty we have one, for Salesforce we have one, for SAP we have one. So such APIs would be having. So at a system layer, you're gonna have so many such respective APIs will be present. And a process layer, for example, I'm just have one business use case. Okay, then fine. You do not need uh, too many APIs at a process level. Hope that answers the question. Yeah,
Thank you, Anand.
yeah. So, let's further look at this example. Maybe some of question would be answered here. So let's say we are having an any point MQ where we are queuing the request that comes through some SAP systems, and some are maybe some call center guys are making an request through POS event listener. Those are queued into any point MQ, and then we directly sending those in order to the order processing API, which then work in certain sequence, which will have the process layer would have that understanding in which system it has to connect, because any request doesn't require to go through all, right? It based on what operation client is asking. So based on that, decision would be made whether to go to the loyalty management system or data cloud system or Salesforce system or SAP system. So such decisions would be made here. So let's deep dive. So usually when we jump into any project, we have such activity diagram, right? So it will tell us if it can be open in new tab for readability perspective. I would. So it's got pretty big. Okay, I don't know if I click it, it's become a little bigger. So, okay, so I just wanted to iterate you the system it has. So operations would be decided. So we have all end system here, and operations to those end system would be called based on the business use case here. So if it's order, then it would be happening at a process layer. So we have at a process layer, uh, which will, so this is our process layer. So it will decide which all systems to call and which order it has to call. So such business logic would be happening at a process layer, and the final result will be sent back to the client. So that's the only point we want to highlight. I don't need to, maybe this is the point. We may not go into the details at that, but this is one thing we have to be understanding as in big picture. So
We
okay,
have
so
one question.
yeah,
Edward is asking, is it collaboration diagram or a BPM in process?
in this diagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are two diagrams. I don't know if I understood the question. So it's an activity diagram, and this is one is a high level block diagram. I would say this is the block diagram. uh, yeah, so was it just to check what name of this diagram? Oh, oh. If it's just ask here, maybe I'll just read out. With a collaboration diagram. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So it's these are there are different diagrams, right? So we are picking up sequence diagram here, which kind of get you through all systems. Maybe terminology wise, I'm not sure what BPM diagram is, but yeah, it's some business process, I think, maybe. But I would have to go back and study. I cannot comment on it. So so as we are saying, how many APIs was one of the question, right? So see, as an application wise, we have 6 APIs written for a system APIs. As a process layer, we have uh, 2 APIs. Possibly they said 2 APIs were required here. So one is sales order and then customer process. These are the two APIs needed at the process layer, and then I think that's what we have. If I have furthermore, so okay, so we have to log in to get this code download. So if we log in, then we can get that code for a process API. But if you have time, then maybe I can try to get that code. Maybe it's like I have to see what credentials I have used. Maybe I lost that. I have to go back and find it out. But yeah, so once you log in, then we can get this asset download and review it. And then we have to customize it if in case our interest is to reusability. But as an demo perspective, I think I just wanted to tell what all things we have to run through. If you have done further time, then I can show one small example, and maybe we have to stop recording for some time. Then
Yeah, sure, sure.
yeah, yeah.